Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? We're here with the set 10 ban list. I didn't think it was coming out so early. Earlier today, I posted a Piccolo Maiden's deck profile, and man, by 1 hour later, that aged really terribly. I did not know at all this was coming today, so we're getting two videos today. This one covering the ban list. If you want to check that video out from earlier today, the deck still works. The deck's playable. I don't know necessarily how good it'll be, but you can also experiment with it with other leaders. But anyways, right into this video, I just want to talk about the new ban list stuff. Man, they finally did it. They finally banned Gogeta. But first, as we always do, we'll read the design notes because it's really important to get kind of an idea of where Bandai's at with this. So, announcement, set 10 additions to the ban limited errata list. Greeting Dragon Ball Super card fans, we're adding 6 cards to the ban list and 5 cards to the errata list. So this is a really big list. Keep that in mind. As we kick off this new series, we want to ensure the meta is enjoyable for as many players as possible. To achieve this and better represent the direction we'd like to take the game in, we're issuing more bans than usual. We ask for your understanding during this process and hope all Dragon Ball Super card game fans can enjoy the upcoming meta. So that's one thing they noted that's really important. Make it as enjoyable for as many players as possible. Not everyone's going to be happy with the ban list. Not everyone's going to understand the ban list. But for the most part, from what I've seen, I'm pretty happy with it, and we can talk about it as we go through. Now, one thing I want to mention too is, like, people will mention Bandai is making bans to push their product. That's true and not true at the same time. I'm a firm believer that Bandai, especially the people that designed this game that I've personally met with my team, they really care about the health of the game. They really are responsive to our opinions. And but on the other side of the coin, yeah, you do have to sell new products, guys. You have to understand, because if they don't sell new products, the game can't survive. That's how card games work. So keeping that in mind, let's get on into the rest of the set. So starting off with Gogeta 7, man, long overdue. Let's see what they said about it. Originally, we designed cards thinking games would end on turns 5 or 6. However, the game is becoming much more interactive now, and we're trying to move away from all-purpose cards powerful enough to win the game on their own. This card no longer fits the direction we want the game to go in, earning it a spot on the ban list. Oh my god, I don't think they could have made me happier with what they just said here. So basically, what it sounds like they're saying is they are no longer going to create boss monsters that win the game on their own. And Gogeta 7 usually was a card like that. I mean, if you're playing yellow, for instance, you had Chomp the Trickster and Mutaito, but other colors had really no answer to this. You had to, like, hopefully rip into a negate, otherwise you were pretty much dead. But even then, getting set back to 3 cards in hand, it was really hard to come back from. So this is a really good thing. Like, I think about Smoke Dragon. Like, you think about that card, right? It comes down and it has a really devastating set of effects, but it doesn't win you the game on that turn. Like, it might say up to win the game the next turn, but it doesn't win you the game on that turn, and it doesn't have to flex, so it's, you know, susceptible to tons of more types of different interruptions. So the fact that they're thinking this way as a design team, I'm really happy. You should be really happy. So let's go on with the next one. 21 Violent Predator. We talked about this in a video last week. Originally, this card was meant to promote the use of multicolored decks. However, with the set 10 series, we want monocolored decks to be viable as well. This card prevents players from effectively using monocolored cards and could potentially lead to a meta where monocolored decks are less effective. So we're adding it to the ban list. I think this is totally fine. I mean, I would have been cool with this being like limited to 1 copy per deck and maybe putting the ultimate tag on it like I talked about in that video. But either way, this is fine, guys. And if you want to play Android 21 is still super playable, guys. I post on the Patreon, I think during set 8 format, and I could definitely update it. But there is an Android 21 deck out there that is stronger than violentpredator.deck. There definitely is. It's on the Patreon right now, and I could definitely update it because it hasn't been updated in a little while. But it's probably way better than just violentpredator.deck. So if you want to play 21, don't worry about this. This is a good ban for the health of the game. Begrudging Respect Piccolo. We created this card to deal with Objection, Son Goku Headed Evolution, SS3, and other ramp-oriented cards. However, since those cards are no longer the threats they once were, we believe this card will unnecessarily limit future card designs and thus deserving of a ban. This is interesting. This is very interesting. So they're pushing a lot of ramp, obviously, in set 10. They did some in set 8 as well. So, but the thing with the ramp nowadays is it's much more specific to certain archetypes. Like, you have the Android 16 energy amplification that's tied to blue-green. You have Future Trunks and his ramp package that you can only use with Future Trunks. And then you have the new Zamasu stuff. And they actually did hit Zamasu stuff on this ban list, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So hitting the ramp and hitting the anti-ramp, it's an interesting dichotomy. I don't know if that was a good move or not, but I think it will be okay. We'll keep going though, so keeping that in mind. Force Projection Mass Sand. This is probably the best anti-ramp cards. I don't want to hear you guys talking about Denday. This card was the best anti-ramp card by far. 1 energy, 15k beater. You can play 2 of them in 1 turn relatively easily. Now, Denday is still around, and that's paying 3 energy to deal with 1 energy. So I guess compared to this card and Piccolo, it's the most expensive form of energy removal. So I guess that's why they decided to keep it around. Now, I think here they say exactly the same thing they said for Piccolo, so I won't even read it. But again, hitting the 2 strongest anti-ramp cards, very interesting. We'll see how that plays out. I think if we end up needing them, I think Bandai will either hit ramp again, which I don't think will be super needed, or they'll give us the anti-ramp cards back. So Plan for Destruction, this was a very unexpected one for me. Let's give it a read. Originally, this card was designed to promote energy ramping strategies when combined with Goku Black and Fused Zamasu. But with the release of set 10, Zeno Edge of Space would allow players to ramp, swap this card out of their energy into their hand, and then ramp even more. We believe this card will unnecessarily limit future card design and thus deserving of a ban. Totally agree there. This is something I didn't really think would be too overpowered, because it is kind of costly in card advantage, but it is a really powerful combo. Me and Danny talked about it in a video a few weeks ago, and this card is a really strong combo. You know, on defense, ramping 2 energy for basically 2 cards is really busted. So I'm definitely okay with that. Turles, a card that everyone was talking about. Let's give it a read. So this card has been used to take down your opponent's life faster than originally intended, and has unforeseen interactions with unison cards that could create an unbalanced gameplay. Yeah, so the new Gotenks Black Unison, it discards your U3s, and then Turles you can swap them out with Turles, you can swap them out with other cards. So that was pretty strong there. We believe this card could create an enjoyable gameplay experience, thus deserving of a ban. You guys know I'm a big fan of Mono Black Demigrab, but I mean, it is what it is. That deck could still be playable potentially, but Mono Black aggro is definitely going to take a big hindrance from losing Turles. But again, it is probably for the betterment of the game. Vejenks was looking to be one of the strongest, most degenerate decks we've seen in a long time, so I guess it makes sense. Now we're talking about erratas. So Goku Black, I did a whole video on this. The deck wasn't that good, at least the all gas turn 3 Android 17 version, but I guess there were other builds floating around. They decided to do something about it. This card works far too well with the new Unison, Zeno Cosmic Unison. Yeah, so I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because when you ramp with Zeno, you get that energy, and then Zeno says you have to remove that specific energy at the end of the turn. But if you remove that energy with Goku Black, then you keep any ramp you gain, basically. So it's really crazy. So all right, current text, now the errata text. You can't place cards and energy for the turn when you use his ramp effect. So before, you could ramp with Goku Black, and then you were able to pretty much ramp with whatever else you wanted to. Now you can't do that. If you're going to use Goku Black's effect, you cannot use other ramp cards for the turn. That's pretty crazy. I mean, it really does hurt Goku Black. You can't play any extra ramping cards with it. That is actually really limiting, and that kind of tells me too they're not going to be rebooting Goku Black, because if they don't want a leader that ramps paired with a card like Zeno Cosmic Unison, well, I don't really know how they're going to go about it, unless they basically made a leader that drew and ramped itself and then cannot be ramped in any other ways. That could be kind of strong, but I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with the Reboot Leaders. This errata, pretty simple. They're just giving you the option to use the +1 effect. So I think what this means is you can use the +1, and then you don't have to add a card to your life to your hand and then add a card from hand to your life. I think that's how it's gonna work, so you can still gain counters on it without having to keep swapping through your life. But really, this is kind of needless, because you can just pick up a life, put it right back. So yeah, I don't know, this is kind of a weird one, but I guess they're going with it for whatever reason. Son Goku Warrior, the cross time, the errata here, they're making it by an opponent's skill that has to be removed, not by any skill, period. I guess there were skills of yours that could remove it, but I don't know if there's really a powerful combo with that. This is the next important one. Surge Goku, my boy, taking an errata. We've got to see what they're saying about this. We're trying our best to design cards to make the game more interactive. However, this card's defensive capabilities are far too high and can be used with many different decks to stall for several turns, leading to longer game times. We're adding an errata to this card to make sure it doesn't cause games to stall out in the future. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. The problem was, you know, there were infinite builds you could play with Surge Goku. It was just that generic. Red and yellow were the strongest colors in the game, and you know, you pair that with blue-red, there was a lot of the blue-red cooler decks running around, so it was very powerful. So the errata is the awakened side, you can only use the effects on your turn. That is a huge hit to this leader. So before, you had a free 10k combo on defense, basically a free 10k senzu bean rather, that's stuck on your leader for the whole turn. That was amazing defensively. Negating your opponent's whole board, also amazing. Now you can only do that during your turn, making this a pretty aggressive leader in that sense. You can still do the board wipe thing of all the skills, but unfortunately, the fact that you can't do it during your opponent's turn does hurt. But They did not hit Goku's draw engine. Piccolo, though, was not as lucky. So it looks like they say, okay, so we're trying our best to design cards to make the game more interactive. However, this card allows player to gain card advantage while also ramping to use counter cards and play high cost cards early. We believe this card will unnecessarily limit future card designs, so we're issuing an errata for it. This leader was way too powerful. The amount of advantage that it drew without having to give the opponent advantage was pretty degenerate, to be honest. Now, this leader is fair in that sense. You still never have to attack your opponent. You can still play your, Super 17 9-drop successor, rip all of your opponent's life, but you're not going to have a 14 card hand while you do it. So that makes a lot more sense. Now, the errata here, on the unawakened side rather, you were able to look at the top card, place it on top or bottom, then draw for turn. So basically, they took the draw away from that effect. Now you're only drawing for turn. So you can look at top card of your deck, you can put it on top or bottom, and then you can draw for turn. That's it. So they're really, really neutering this leader's draw ability. That's really important. And this is going to take place June 5th, which I believe is a week before set 10 comes out. So that's the ban list, guys. I pretty much agree with everything here. There's nothing here that I see that enrages me, and I don't know why anyone else would be enraged. Like, yeah, if you liked mono black aggro, the Turles ban is unfortunate, but I mean, you got to think about the health of the game. And yeah, one thing that people will talk about here, Reboot Gohan wasn't hit. I could have definitely agreed with a Reboot Gohan hit here, either a ban or maybe some type of errata. But the thing is, now yellow has like a free win against Gohan because of the new Release from Evil negate. Green even has a better time against it because of Dormant Potential Unleashed. So there are really ways to combat it, which is okay to me, I guess, in my opinion. Another thing too, though, I will mention, Bandai, this is directly to you guys. If you're going to make all these erratas, you have to start reprinting these cards and getting the right card text out there. You just have to do it. We have to try and like limit the confusion of the game, and that's one way we're going to do it. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time.